welcome back to Talking GPA. My name is Amy, I'm your host, and for today's episode, we're going to be talking about community college and how it looks like being an option instead of going to a university straight out of high school. Or if you just want to go to a community college rather than a university. So we're going to see the pros and cons and what I wish I knew before I went into community college. So let's get into the podcast. So something that I'm really glad that I did in my senior year of high school is that I took a college course while I was in my high school. So luckily my high school gave me this opportunity to be able to take a college class because I was in an advanced math. And I didn't take AP math. I just took math, like a higher math, and then I basically got done with high school math in my junior year, and then I was able to apply for a math in college, which was math 150 and math 183. And with that, I was able to get around, I think, 8 college credits by completing math 150 fall semester and math 183 my spring semester of senior year. And so I'm really glad I got to do that, even though I do complain a lot about the fact that my math 150 did not transfer over, which we'll talk about later. But I was able to get my math 183, and since I already took math 150, I just had to take math 151, which is the same thing. So it just kind of ended up working out because I already knew kind of the curriculum of math 150. But something that I wish I knew was taking those courses earlier, probably when I was like a junior, but also I got COVID year, when I was a sophomore. So my sophomore year, spring to my junior year. So it was kind of a rough time. And I really didn't know what was going on. I did take a placement test my freshman year, and that's when I found out I was gonna take a higher level math. But I just wish that I knew that I could take college credits while I was in high school at the same time. I would say just get done with college or university, research what you want to do, start with your basic credits like English, math, science, history, looking them up on your community college and seeing if you can take them while you're in high school, because also they are a lot cheaper when you're in high school than when you get out of high school. Community college is very affordable, but when you're in high school, it is extremely affordable. Okay? My community college was $25 a credit. So that was crazy, and I didn't know that until I was in my senior year. So research your community college to see how they work with high schools to be able to get those credits done, so you don't have to worry about doing your basics, your English, math, science, history, and then you can go into the fun stuff that you actually want to specialize in. Because I think that's the one thing that makes me I just want to get done with university, is that I have to do some basics. Luckily, I did most of them in my community college, but also I still need my history class. So basically, I was already enrolled in my college from being able to do my math classes on my senior year, and then my first year of college, I started to kind of okay, I'm going to do psychology, so I'm going to do my basics or whatever. And you should really, if you're thinking about going to a university, start looking at exactly what can transfer over from your community college, because that plays a important role in being able to transfer those credits and actually make them count towards something. Because I was like, oh, it's so easy. Like, I just need like a humanities class. Okay, great. Or I just need an arts class. Perfect. I'm just going to take theater. And that was it. And that completed a certain part of my curriculum or what I need to do for my community college. But I didn't really see how that transfers over. And once I was in my second year of community college, which was my last year, I realized that my credit would transfer over, but I didn't take another history class for it to count as one whole history course. So currently now I have to take one history class or like a political science class just to fill that curriculum, because I filled all the rest, but not that part, because I chose to do the fun route and be like, I love theater. I'm just going to do this theater class because it fills my curriculum. No. Look it up and do your research. Okay? So that's very important to make sure that your credits will transfer over. And you can do that by, I'm pretty sure most community colleges have this, or universities, where they show you, like, okay, this is what your community college is. These are the courses that could transfer over and what they mean at our university. And so when you look at these that are the transferable credits, make sure you're taking those classes so you don't have to take them again. And sometimes they don't mention like English 101. They don't mention, I don't know, like these basic like things that are just like basic English, math, science, history. Um and just make sure that you just like really research what each credit means and what it means when you're at your university, because that will save you a lot of time and not have to repeat a lot of classes because you just didn't fill the requirement. So that's something that I wish I did. Something that really is very different from community college to a university is the environment you're in. And I think that's very self explanatory. But when you're in a community college, it's so much like enclosed, and you're like surrounded by very little people, and honestly it feels so like homey. You're not really like, oh my god, there's 100 people in this lecture, you know. It's maybe like a maximum 50, maybe 60 if you're lucky, and it's a bigger lecture hall. But in my community college, it was very chill, not that many people in a lecture or in a class. And I feel like the teachers were very interactive with the students, where we were like told like, okay, what do you think? Oh, okay, that's interesting. And then we pick and choose and we pick and choose. And then when you go to university, where it's a much bigger scale, you have lectures that are like 100 students, maybe 120, if you're lucky, or smaller classes that are like your basics, that might have less. So this goes into the difficulty of basically trying to pay attention when you're just going through a lecture. Because at my community college, it was so easy just to be able to like connect and be like, I see you, like I hear you, I see you, I get what you're saying. When you're in a university setting, now it's very hard to be able to kind of be like, hey, I didn't understand that. Could you re-say that in a different way? Or like, hey, could you give me an example of that? There's none of that. It's mostly just you show up to the lecture, you already should have read the chapter before, and in class, it's going to be the cliff notes of whatever you read. And you might be like, wow, I didn't remember reading that. You probably didn't, because the teacher might be like, they should know this extra information as well. And now you're like, oh, so the chapter and then also this extra information that I didn't know about. Okay, got it. So something else that is very different from your community college to your university is how you get involved with your community college or your university with clubs and all of that stuff. So when you're in a community college, especially like mine, I was able to just kind of search up on the community college's page and just be like, clubs that are open for applications. And you just basically show up and you're just like, hey, let's start doing something. And it's very much like a club. I was part of my student government association at my community college, and for that it was just like I showed up and suddenly there was a meeting and I was like, okay, and suddenly I had voting power, which is very interesting because that's never happened to me, like, ever. Like, even like when I was in student council in middle school, like, we just didn't vote. So this was a new setting. And also, like, I'm a new member and suddenly I'm voting. Okay, this is very weird. So I did that, and it was very much a student council, not very formal. It was just like, okay, we're gonna do Spirit Week, like, we're gonna do some events this week. Let's make the posters, let's make the games, and let's put up advertisements all around campus. And since the community college is very small, it was very easy to be able to get the word out because there wasn't that many people attending, but also there wasn't that many people part of the group. And when you go to university and you want to get involved, it's around the same process of going to a website or going to a page where it's like, okay, here are the clubs, you can join. But it's in a much bigger scale. There's a lot more traction and a lot more people who are actually wanting to be part of something, which was very new to me because I was like, wow, these people actually care to be in this cool group. I love this. So it's really cool. And I would say, like, being part of ASU and also being part of West Valley, which is a smaller campus, we have events almost every single week, maybe twice a week at least. And with that, we have like little tablings, or we have like, oh, make a little charm, or like this event like Valentine's Day, we have this event, and then there's different like places you can like do different stuff, like paint a tote bag or make friendship bracelets. And basically that type of activities are in most of like the tablings that are happening throughout the week. And also, this is a plus, there's food. At my community college, no food. You're just there. You're just there because you want to enjoy the event. At our tablings and our events at ASU West Valley, we provide food sometimes, not always, but we do that sometimes. But it's so fun because you get to find people that are like actually interested in doing the things that you're doing as well. And it's not this awkward like side-eyeing moment where just like, so should I say something or should I not say something? These people are here because you have a common interest. So you can actually have a conversation being like, oh, you want to make a friendship bracelet? Oh, that's so cool. Like, how did you get to here? Oh, that's cool. Like, let's get going. Let's start a conversation. Whereas community college, everyone's a little more reserved and a little more individualistic, and they don't really want to socialize and go around. I was one of those people who did kind of want to like be around people and be like, hey, like hi, my name's Amy, and no one cared. And I just kind of learned like they're just different vibes. They're different vibes. Community college, very closed off, very like introverted, whereas universities are more big, they're extravagant, there's groups, there's sororities, there's all this stuff. And something that I would like to add is that when you join a club, you will not regret it, because I feel like I love joining a club, especially at my community college where I first started off. I was very introverted as a kid. I think I mentioned this a lot. But it really helps socializing with other people, because you guys even though you have common ground when you go to events, you have a common ground when you see them consistently every week. And so when I went to my community college, I was part of the dance team. And with that, it was an audition process, but also, like, again, there were not that many people, so not that many people auditioned to be on the dance team. So it was pretty much like if you audition, you got in. And so I got in, I met all of these people, and it was fun. It was honestly really fun. I love to dance. So that was kind of my main reason why I was there, because I wanted to be able to move and socialize. But then I started actually talking to other people, because I was like, okay, I'm going to do the basic introduction where it's like, what's your name? Where did you go to high school? Why are you here? What's your major? All these basic questions. But then once we started actually going to practice and starting to learn dances and starting to actually be a team, that's when I was like, oh, these people are my friends. Like, oh, some of them are my friends. Like, we're chill, we're good. While some of them I'm like, okay, we're not as close as I'm close with you. You know what I mean? So when I kind of got familiarized with that, then I graduated and now I moved to ASU. I was like, I really want to be part of a group or part of like an organization or something that is part of the campus, because I like to socialize. I like to know what's going on around me and be part of the community. I'm just for the people. But nonetheless, I joined a group, and luckily enough, they were amazing, great people, literally loved it, amazing experience, would recommend. Because I got to know what the campus was like, I got to know how to get other people involved, I learned how to talk to people just randomly. I learned how to be a leader, a student leader. So you get all of these important skills when you join groups and organizations and clubs, okay? So if you're thinking about joining a club, you should do it. Um, I would recommend you joining a club that is what you're interested in doing, because that's how you're gonna get the most for your buck. The most for your buck? The best for your buck? The you're gonna have fun. I think you're gonna have fun. I trust. Okay, you gotta take my word for it. So if you do want to get out there, if you don't want to get out there, you don't have to. But I'm just saying that's something that I do recommend, that I'm glad that I was able to do in my community college, because it worked my way up into going to the university and being able to socialize and make friends. Because I'm not one of those people who socialize during class time, because I feel like that's class time. It's not talk time. So I'm very much like focused just in the lecture. It's just you and me teach. We're just gonna learn what's going on, or you're gonna tell me what I just already learned. And then I go back to my dorm, or I just go back home and I do my homework, and that's it. So there literally would not have been any other interaction besides just going to school, going back home, if I didn't join a club, which made me like socialize with people. So if you're the same way, I feel you, because I like being able to basically separate my academic life with my social life and not blend the two, because I can't do that. I can't do that, guys. It's like doing homework when you have your friends around. It is impossible. There is no way that you can do your homework while also having friends who you actually want to talk to and socialize with while you need to do this essay that's due at 11:59. So, I think that's a really good analogy to say. I would say separate the two so that you could actually focus on your work and then go and socialize with other people with your club. So, something that I would say that I wish I knew was looking into applying for scholarships and also jobs as soon as you get into community college, because my community college mentioned that they did not have many applicants in most of their scholarships. And so that means that the few people that actually applied probably got it. And so it's really important for you to do your research in your scholarship so that you can earn money for your education, and it's a lot cheaper because community colleges are very small. And so that means there's more opportunities to be able to get these scholarships. I feel like the scholarship portal that is part of ASU is really cool because you basically do this application and you submit it, and it submits into other scholarships that have the same application process so that you don't have to redo that application process. It just does it for you. And so then it matches you by doing all of these questions where you're just like, so what's your race? These questions that are very like demographic based. And with that, these scholarships are filtered to what you can actually apply for. And so that's really useful because then you can just go to those and then apply for them and hope you get them. And then with community college, I feel like it was a lot harder. The process kind of didn't make sense, which probably means that that's why people don't apply for them because it just is confusing. But I applied to most of these scholarships at my community college. Didn't get in. Didn't get any of these scholarships. But I did do my research, but I only did it at my last year, like my last year when it was the fall. So I wish I actually looked into it in my first year so that I was kind of familiarized with the website and how to apply for scholarships and actually seek out different scholarships, part of my community college, but also just website wide or like nationwide. Nationwide is, and that's how I get copywritten. But basically, nationwide, different scholarships, different scholarship programs, and I would say that's kind of the con of being in community college, even though the pro is that there's not that many people applying, probably. The con is that it might just be really hard to be able to apply, because it's a smaller like community college. I think it depends on also the community college. Mine is smaller, because mine is a small city. So maybe if it's like a bigger city, the community college is probably bigger. But these scholarship applications are kind of confusing. I think that's the bad part about community college is that it's kind of confusing when you're supposed to find out whether or not you got the scholarship. And I think a good telltale is that you'll just find out when you forget about it. I forgot about it, and then suddenly I got 7 different emails from the 7 scholarships that I applied for, and all of them said the exact same thing. Denied. And I guess I'm just not good at writing scholarship applications. Or, I don't know. Mine was just not good enough. But, nonetheless, apply. Because that gets you familiarized with applying for scholarships. So you just do that throughout your years, and hopefully you get one. And also, look into different clubs or organizations or like ways of getting involved that might give you a little bit of scholarship. Like my dance team at my community college, luckily enough, had this scholarship part of the application process. So if you got into the dance team, some students got a scholarship as part of being the dance team. And I was very lucky that I did get that scholarship. But the 7 that I applied for, I did not get. So I don't think my advice is very good, but I would say just apply. Just go for it. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be very tiring. You writing to 3 different questions, minimum 250 words to 500 words, probably maybe letters of recommendation. So always make sure to have people on file. And I would say have them be professors, because they do have good letters of recommendation. And especially if you're applying for a school scholarship, you should get a letter of recommendation from a teacher. Unless it says no teachers, then probably an employer if you have a job, or I don't know how to help you afterwards, your friend. I don't know if that's allowed. I think so. Don't quote me on this. But it's important for you to be able to communicate with your teachers as well, because that's where the letter of recommendation plays in. Because if you don't have a good communication with your teachers, and you don't have this back and forth, like, okay, they know who I am, they know my work ethic, they know my face, they know what I look like, and you keep in touch. If you do that, if you keep in touch, if you kind of keep this communication with your teacher, you can talk to them and be like, hey, could you write me a letter of recommendation? And hopefully they say yes, because you're awesome. But also because you guys have this personal relationship now, which is just, it's not personal, like, oh my God, we're best friends. But it's more like, okay, I know your work ethic, I know who you are, I physically can recognize you, I can tell someone else and recommend you to someone else about the job that you want to apply for, or how you work as a person. And so these are very important, because if you don't talk to your teacher, then you won't get that. And if you do want to get a letter of recommendation from a certain teacher, and you're like, oh, that teacher was so great, but you never reached out, they're gonna forget about you. They have a 60 students, and they have probably 3 or 4 classes, and so they're not gonna remember you. I'm sorry. You might be memorable, okay? You're special, but also there's a lot of students per teacher. They're not gonna remember you. They're gonna try their best to remember you, but the only way that teachers can remember you by is if you make a memorable connection with them. And so this is really important, and I wish I knew this, because in my community college, I was very quiet, as I mentioned. Community college is very individualistic, and so I chose to be closed off. I didn't go up to the teacher and be like, wow, I would love to join this psychology thing, or what's your opinion on this psychology idea, I never did this relationship, interpersonal relationship, talking, conversation. I didn't do that, because I was so focused on just getting into the class, getting through the class, and then going home, that I wasn't focused on my future and how they could play an important role into getting scholarships or shaping what my career could be. Going into a community college, you know that you're just going to be there for 2 years, and then going to university for another 2 years. And for me, it is still hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that I'm graduating next year because of the short-term environment of going from 2 years to another 2 years rather than completing all the 4 years. And growing up, I'm kind of used to that. I moved a lot and I was at different schools all the way up until middle school. So I was familiarized with, okay, I'm just going to go to the new environment. Okay, another one. Okay, another one. And that made me not have really close friends because of it. And going into community college, being part of a dance team, I was like, okay, these are cool people. But I was leaving that year. So something that's really sad is just not having really close friends for a long period of time. And it's going to feel fast if you actually want to have like friendships and you actually want to like talk to people and have these connections. It is a faster pace and a shorter lifespan where you're in one place for 2 years and then you just go away to a different place for another 2 years. And like I mentioned before, it's hard to keep in contact when you're in a different city or if you're in a different state or even a different school. It's really hard to continue this conversation or connection if there's not another person actually putting in the effort as well. If you're only the one pushing, then they're just gonna go and fall back. Okay, you both need to push together if you want to make the friendship work, and if it's long distance. So yeah, if you want to actually make like a connection, if this is something that's actually important to you, where you're like, I really want to make friends and like connections that are like they'll last long, then I would say go to university. Be there for all 4 years because you're going with these people that you have formed connections with for 4 years. And that's something that's crazy. And for me, I just went from 2 years to going to another 2 years. And I know a few people from my previous year, but now this is my last year. And I'm like, wow, I wish I had more time with them because most of them are pretty cool. Like, I wish I was able to talk to them longer. And so now I just have to kind of appreciate the time that I have with them now, which is so poetic. My final thing is realizing the actual environment you're in, the city. So being in a community college that is in a small city, and I've been here for a chunk of my life, I know my way around this place, okay? So there's not really like, oh, there's this new place I want to try out. Oh, I haven't been there before. I kind of know my way around my city, where there's not a place for me to explore. There's not a place for me that I'm like, oh, I really want to, I don't know, apply to this place that is brand new and just started, because everything is so local and small that basically everyone knows each other and everyone's been everywhere already. And moving into a bigger city like Phoenix, it's crazy because going to a university like ASU, there is so much going on everywhere at all times. Like, you can go from one campus to another campus and then be completely different vibes, and then from that campus to the other campus, another completely different vibe, and from that campus to the other campus, different vibe. Literally every single campus has a different vibe to what their campus is, and also everything that surrounds it. A good example is Tempe, where it's really centered with like the Scottsdale, Tempe area, where there's a bunch of stores, there's a bunch of different shopping things and bars and I don't know, all of these big things that you can go. And so everyone's like, oh, you have to go to Tempe because that's the main spot. You have to go there because everything's around there. And to an extent, yeah, that's true. Tempe has like 50 different restaurants. Yeah, Tempe has like 50 different restaurants. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I don't think it's that many, but nonetheless, they have so many restaurants on campus compared to like West Valley, which we have like, I think 5. But that's okay. That's okay because we have different vibes. We're the calm campus, you know? Tempe's the party campus. Downtown's kind of like the, you go to downtown if you have to go to downtown, and just pray that you're all good. And then Polly's just chilling, in the back, and hanging out. They're just glad to be invited. So that's something that is really that really didn't put into perspective going to university to going to a community college, because going to university now, I'm like, wow, there's so many job opportunities for me to be able to go do theater while also being on campus and doing my job and also being part of clubs. Like, there's so much roundedness in being able to be part of your community compared to going to a community college that is very small and in a smaller city, because there's very limited work. And if you have a specialization that is very specialized, the possibility of you actually getting a job in it in a small city is very small because of it being a small city. How many times have I said small? Take a shot for every time I've said small. Shot of water. So that's going to be it for today's episode. I hope you guys learned something from this. I feel like I was just talking, and then sometimes I made a point, and then sometimes I just don't know where I was going with it. But in the end, I really do hope that you guys learn a little bit from this and be like, okay, she's speaking facts sometimes. And I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe and or like and or follow if you're on Spotify. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.